Have you ever seen your child's smile fade in an instant because of someone else's cruelty? This story will touch your heart, so stay till the end, because the way this mother turned pain into kindness will surprise you. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live, where every story reminds us that a small act of love can change everything. The day started with laughter. My son Ethan came running into the kitchen with his backpack bouncing and his shoes untied. "Mom, everyone's talking about Ava's birthday party. It's this weekend and it's going to be huge." His little face glowed with excitement. He was only 8, full of joy, innocence, and that unshakable belief that everyone is kind at heart. I smiled as I poured his cereal. "That sounds fun, sweetheart. Did you get the invitation yet?" He grinned, shaking his head. "Not yet, but Ava said she's giving them out today." That morning he left for school humming. I could still hear his cheerful tune echoing down the driveway as I waved goodbye. But when he came home later, his mood was different. His shoulders slumped and his eyes looked heavy, the way a child's eyes shouldn't. "Ethan, what's wrong?" I asked, crouching down to his level. He just shrugged. "Nothing." His voice cracked. "It's fine." I didn't push, but something in my heart told me to wait. Later that night, as I tucked him into bed, I found a crumpled piece of paper under his pillow, a torn corner of a bright pink invitation with the words "Ava's birthday party" printed in colorful letters. My chest tightened. "Ethan, honey, did someone give this to you?" He looked away. "No, I found it on the floor. I think everyone else got one." The silence that followed was heavier than words. He finally whispered, "Mom, why didn't they invite me? I thought they liked me." How do you explain cruelty to a child who still believes the world is fair? I swallowed hard, brushing his hair back. "Sometimes people forget to be kind," I said softly. "But that doesn't mean you're not amazing." He tried to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. That night, long after he fell asleep, I sat on the couch scrolling through social media, and there it was. Photos of parents chatting in the group chat about what snacks to bring, who would help decorate, and who would drive the kids. My name wasn't there. Not once. It wasn't about the party. It was about what it meant to him. The next morning, I decided to take a walk to clear my head. I passed by the school and saw Ava's mom, Lisa, standing by her car with 2 other parents. They laughed when they saw me. "Oh, hey, Melissa," she said too sweetly. "We're so busy with the party prep, it's going to be wild. You know how these kids are." I forced a smile. "Ethan's excited too. I think he's waiting for his invitation." Her fake laugh stung. "Oh, we just didn't have enough space this year, you understand, right?" Enough space for one more child. My heart burned with anger and sadness all at once. When I got home, Ethan was building something with his Legos on the living room floor, a big, colorful castle. He looked up and smiled faintly. "Mom, if I had a party, I'd invite everyone, even the mean kids." That simple sentence shattered me, but it also planted a seed, an idea that began to grow deep inside me. If they couldn't make room for kindness, I would. Not out of revenge, but to show them, and my son, that being excluded doesn't define you. That evening, I opened my laptop and began typing furiously. Invitations. Bright, bold, and welcoming. Not to a birthday party, but to something even better. A kindness celebration. This was how it began. A mother's heart broken, but determined to rebuild something beautiful from the pieces. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains, casting golden streaks across the kitchen table where Ethan sat quietly eating his toast. He didn't hum like he usually did. No songs, no silly jokes, just silence. Every now and then he glanced at his school bag as if hoping a pink invitation might magically appear inside it. My heart ached. That was the moment I decided. If they couldn't include him, I would create something that would remind every child and every parent what true inclusion looked like. I didn't want to embarrass anyone. I wanted to teach them. I picked up my coffee, took a deep breath, and opened my laptop again. The cursor blinked on the screen, waiting for me to give it purpose. I began typing, my fingers flying faster. With each word, "You are invited to the kindness gathering, a day for kids to celebrate friendship, creativity, and compassion." I added a little quote at the bottom. "There's always room for everyone at the table of kindness." By noon, I had designed a bright, cheerful flyer, balloons, smiles, hands of different colors holding one another. It wasn't about who had the biggest house or fanciest party. It was about belonging. I printed 20 copies and smiled. Later that afternoon, I went to the school. As I waited by the gate, I saw the kids rushing out with goodie bags. Ava's birthday had apparently been moved to after school. Laughter echoed all around. Parents snapped pictures. Ethan walked behind them, his head low, dragging his backpack. My chest tightened. When he saw me, he tried to smile. "It's okay, Mom," he said softly. I didn't want to go anyway. But I could see it, the hurt behind the words. He wasn't angry, just heartbroken. I knelt down beside him. "Hey, kiddo, how about we make our own celebration? Something better, something special." His eyes lifted just a little. "Like what?" I handed him one of the flyers. "A kindness gathering. You and I will host it. We'll invite everyone, even the ones who forgot to invite you." He blinked. "Even Ava?" "Especially Ava," I said, smiling. That night we worked side by side at the dining table. Ethan colored signs that said, "Be kind, it feels good, and everyone belongs." I watched him slowly come back to life, the sadness melting away into excitement. His small hands moved confidently as he glued glitter stars to each corner. "Do you really think they'll come?" he asked. "I think kindness surprises people," I said, "and sometimes it changes them." The next day, we began handing out invitations at the park, at the school gate, even sliding one under Ava's mom's windshield wiper. Some parents looked confused. Others smiled politely. A few whispered, "I didn't care." Ethan was glowing again, his spirit rekindled. By Friday, the buzz had started. A few moms asked me, "Melissa, what's this kindness thing about?" I just smiled and said, "It's about reminding our kids that being left out doesn't mean being forgotten." Saturday morning arrived. The backyard was decorated with colorful ribbons and balloons. Ethan helped set up a long table with cupcakes, juice boxes, and craft supplies. There were games, music, and even a kindness wall, where everyone could write a kind message about someone else. At first, only a few kids showed up, neighbors mostly. But then more cars pulled in. One by one, children from Ethan's class came running through the gate, some shy, some giggling, holding their parents' hands. And then, I saw her. Ava, holding a small present and looking hesitant. Behind her was her mom, Lisa, looking uncomfortable but curious. Ethan froze for a moment, his hands full of juice boxes. Then he smiled. "Hi, Ava. I'm glad you came." Her face softened. "Thanks for inviting me." And in that simple exchange, something powerful happened. Forgiveness bloomed, the kind of forgiveness only a child could give so easily. I stood back, watching Ethan laugh again, surrounded by kids who were finally seeing him. Not as someone left out, but as someone kind enough to include them anyway. Lisa approached me slowly. "Melissa, this is really beautiful," she said quietly. "You didn't have to invite us after everything." I smiled. "That's exactly why I did." She looked down, ashamed. "I guess I forgot what this was all supposed to be about." "Kids learn from us," I said softly. "If we want them to be kind, we have to show them what that looks like." As the sound of laughter filled the air, I knew this was just the beginning, not just of a lesson for them, but for all of us. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. The kindness gathering was in full swing. Laughter echoed through the backyard, the air sweet with the smell of cupcakes and lemonade. Ethan was glowing. His face shone brighter than any decoration. He was darting around with his friends, helping smaller kids with crafts and making sure everyone felt included. Watching him, I realized something profound. Kindness didn't just heal others, it healed him too. At one corner of the yard, children wrote on the kindness wall. Little notes fluttered like colorful butterflies. Ethan helped me when I fell. Ava shared her crayons today. Kindness makes you feel happy inside. It was beautiful, pure, genuine. Lisa, Ava's mom, stood a few feet away, holding a paper plate with untouched snacks. She looked uncertain, as if unsure how to stand in a space built from the very lesson she'd forgotten to teach her child. I approached her gently. "I'm glad you came," I said. She sighed. "Honestly, Melissa, I almost didn't. When Ava showed me your invitation, I felt embarrassed. After excluding your son, I didn't think we'd be welcome." I smiled softly. "That's the thing about kindness, ain't it doesn't keep score." Her eyes glistened. "I judged you unfairly," she admitted. "I thought you were just another parent trying to outdo everyone. But seeing Ethan smile like that, it's making me think about what kind of example I've been setting." I nodded. We all have those moments. The good thing is, well, it's never too late to change. As the evening went on, more parents joined in the laughter. They helped serve food, played games, even wrote messages on the kindness wall. Something magical was happening. Hearts were softening, connections rebuilding. What started as one boy's pain was now a movement of empathy spreading like wildfire. Ethan came running up to me, cheeks flushed with joy. "Mom, everyone's writing nice things about each other." "Look." He tugged me toward the wall where dozens of sticky notes now covered every inch. One caught my eye. Written in pink marker, it said, "To Ethan, thank you for inviting me. You're the best kind of friend." "Ava," I smiled. "See what happens when we choose kindness?" He nodded proudly. "It feels better than being mad." That night, after everyone left, the house was quiet again. The backyard looked like a dream that had come true. Colorful streamers swaying gently, paper hearts scattered on the grass. The words "Be kind always" still glowing on the banner. Ethan helped me clean up, still humming softly. "Mom," he said suddenly, "can we do this every year? Not just for me, for everyone." Tears stung my eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. We can make it our tradition." The next morning, something unexpected happened. My phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from parents, teachers, even the principal. They'd seen pictures from the event that other parents had shared online. One message read, "Melissa, that kindness event was inspiring. Would you consider helping organize something similar for the whole school?" I sat there stunned, smiling through tears. The thing born from my son's exclusion was now becoming a lesson for an entire community. Later that week, I received a call from Lisa. "Hey," she said shyly, "I wanted to tell you something." After Saturday, Ava couldn't stop talking about Ethan. She said he was the nicest person she's ever met. And she asked if they could start a kindness club at school together. I felt my heart swell. "That sounds wonderful." She also said, Lisa added with a laugh, that next year, everyone should be invited to her birthday party. No exceptions. I smiled, shaking my head in disbelief. Looks like they're already leading the way. That afternoon, as Ethan walked home from school, I noticed something different. His steps were lighter, his laughter louder. The same children who once ignored him now called out his name, waving and smiling. He turned to me and said, "Mom, remember when I said I'd invite everyone, even the mean kids? I think they finally understand why." And in that moment, I knew my son had learned a lesson far greater than I could have ever taught him. A week after the kindness gathering, life began returning to its usual rhythm. School runs, homework, dinners, bedtime stories. But something had changed. The air around us felt lighter, warmer somehow. Wherever Ethan went, smiles followed. Kids waved to him in the hallway. Teachers mentioned how the students were being extra kind lately. One morning, as I dropped Ethan off at school, I noticed a new bulletin board near the entrance. Across the top, in big colorful letters, it read, "Kindness Club. Join the movement." And right in the center were two photos. one of Ethan and one of Ava standing side by side, both grinning with their arms full of donated toys. I blinked back tears. Lisa stood beside me, holding a cup of coffee and smiling shyly. "They've been planning this all week," she said. Ava couldn't stop talking about Ethan's idea to collect toys and clothes for kids who don't have much. "That's incredible," I whispered. She laughed softly. "He's really changed her, you know. She's thinking beyond herself now, and to be honest, I think you changed me too." I turned to her, surprised. I used to care so much about appearances, about who was invited, who wasn't. I thought that made me a good mom, being in the right circles. Her voice cracked a little, but when I saw Ethan that day, forgiving us without hesitation, I realized I'd been teaching the wrong kind of values. My daughter was learning exclusion from me. I placed a hand on her arm.
"It takes courage to admit that, Lisa, and even more courage to change." She nodded.
"That's why I want to help. I talked to the school board. We're organizing a kindness week next month. And I was hoping maybe you'd help lead it." I smiled, genuinely touched. "Of course I will." That afternoon when Ethan came home, I told him the news. He practically jumped with excitement. "Mom, that means everyone in school will do kind things. Maybe we can even raise money for the animal shelter." His joy was infectious. I couldn't help laughing. "You're amazing, you know that?" He shrugged with a shy grin. "You said kindness always comes back. I guess it really does." In the following days, the ripple grew stronger. The Kindness Club became the most popular activity at school. Kids took turns sharing what kind act they'd done that day, helping a classmate, writing kind notes, donating lunch money to a local charity. Even the teachers got involved, rewarding moments of kindness instead of just grades. And through it all, Ethan flourished. One afternoon, I got an email from his teacher, Mrs. Rivera. "Dear Mrs. James, I wanted to tell you how proud we are of Ethan. His compassion and leadership have brought our students together in ways we've never seen before. You've raised a truly special boy." I sat there reading it again and again, tears streaming down my face. For so long, I'd worried that the cruelty of others might dim his light. But instead, it had only made him shine brighter. That evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Ethan said something that will stay with me forever. "Mom," he said softly, "I used to think being left out was the worst thing ever, but now I think maybe it was supposed to happen." "Why's that, sweetheart?" I asked. "Because if I was never left out," he said with a small smile, "I would have never known how good it feels to make everyone else feel included." I stared at him, my heart swelling with pride. Out of all the lessons I'd ever hoped to teach him, he just taught me the most important one. Forgiveness creates peace, but kindness creates change. As the last rays of light faded, I realized that what began as a painful moment of exclusion had turned into something so much greater, a movement, a message and a memory that would stay with us forever. And somewhere deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Because when kindness takes root, it keeps growing, touching lives we may never even meet. Months passed, and what began as one act of kindness had transformed into something far bigger than I ever imagined. Ethan's kindness gathering had become the spark that lit up our entire town. The school's Kindness Week was now a regular event. Local businesses were donating supplies, parents were volunteering, and even the mayor came by one afternoon to thank the students for inspiring change. But for me, the real reward was watching Ethan grow. The shy boy who once came home in tears was now the confident kid everyone admired. He didn't need popularity. He had purpose. Every morning he left the house with that same sparkle in his eyes, the one I thought I'd lost the day he didn't get that party invitation. One crisp autumn afternoon, I received a call from Mrs. Rivera, his teacher. "Mrs. James, we're having a school assembly next week. The students voted for someone to receive the first ever Heart of Kindness award." My heart skipped a beat. "That's wonderful. Who's getting it?" She chuckled warmly. "Your son, Ethan." For a moment I couldn't speak. I just sat there, tears filling my eyes, my heart full. "He's going to be so happy." I finally whispered. The day of the assembly arrived. The auditorium buzzed with excitement. Colorful banners reading, "Kindness is Power," hung across the stage. Parents filled the seats, cameras ready. Ethan sat in the front row, his legs swinging nervously. I could tell he didn't expect anything. Mrs. Rivera stepped up to the podium. "Today," she began, "we celebrate not just good grades or trophies, but something even more important: kindness. This award goes to a student whose compassion reminded us all that inclusion, empathy, and love can change everything." Then she smiled toward Ethan. "Please come up, Ethan James." Gasps filled the room, followed by cheers and applause. Ethan froze for a second, wide-eyed, then slowly walked to the stage. I could see his little hands trembling as he took the microphone. Thank you," he began softly. His voice echoed in the hall. "I didn't think I'd ever win something like this. I just wanted everyone to feel happy because one time I didn't." The room fell silent. "I know how it feels to be left out," he continued. "It hurts, but when you choose to be kind instead of mean, you make people smile, and that makes you smile too. So, I guess kindness is like a boomerang. It always comes back." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. When he finished, even the principal wiped her eyes. Ava stood and clapped the loudest, shouting, "Go, Ethan." Lisa turned to me and whispered, "You must be so proud." "I am," I said softly. "More than he'll ever know." After the assembly, Ethan ran into my arms. "Mom, did you see?" I hugged him tightly. "I saw, sweetheart, and you deserve every bit of it." He looked up at me and grinned. "Can we do another kindness gathering soon?" I laughed. "Of course we can. Maybe this time we'll invite the whole town." That evening, as we walked home hand in hand, the golden sunset bathed the street in light. The same street where he once walked with his head down, now echoed with laughter and hope. It felt poetic. I realized then that the lesson I'd set out to teach others had turned into the greatest lesson of my own life. Kindness doesn't just change the world around you, it changes the world inside you. And as I looked at my son, this little boy who had turned exclusion into inclusion and pain into purpose, I knew that no act of cruelty could ever truly win as long as people like him kept choosing love over bitterness. Before bed, Ethan said something that made me tear up all over again. "Mom, remember when you said people forget to be kind sometimes? I think maybe they just need someone to remind them." I smiled, brushing his hair back. "And you did exactly that, my love." As I turned off the light and whispered goodnight, I realized that while life will always have its unfair moments, the most powerful response isn't anger, it's kindness. Because kindness doesn't just end one story, it begins 1,000 more.